right, folks, it's 4 o'clock and the market is closing on Wall Street and the market is open. The media, politics, news market is open right here on Real America's Voice with Bolling. 4 o'clock, market's closed. We open. Check it out. Dow very quiet today. Very, very quiet today. Trump is overseas. He's in the Middle East. He cut a $600 billion deal with Mohammed bin Salman, the leader of Saudi Arabia. And then he went over to Qatar and cut a $250 billion deal over there. All in all, so far, Trump's got $1.2 trillion in deals cut with the Middle East so far. Markets are very quiet today. Dow down a little bit, NASDAQ up a little bit. Check out gold, 66, a little evening of a massive run up in gold. Good news, 82 cents lower in oil. OPEC has been talking about whether or not they're going to increase production. They're going to try and increase production. And for those who are interested, Bitcoin, 103,300, 103,300. That thing has been on a tear. It's kind of shrugged off all the nonsense that's been going on Wall Street and doing its own thing. Bitcoin is very strong. Ben, did you tell me something? Did you say our guest is here? He's not here. We're waiting on what's going on.
We are just getting some things padded out right now, but we'll be ready shortly.
All right. Well, in the meantime, we can talk a little bit more of that Middle Eastern trip. I mean, if you're watching the picture, it's absolutely phenomenal. It's amazing. And the biggest thing for me was when Trump landed, he landed in Air Force One, which obviously he wants to exchange for a new version of it, $400 million version that the Qatar government wants to give Trump. But so he lands, and Mohammed bin Salman rolls out literally the red carpet for Trump. I mean, it's a huge emotional thing. Takes them one room, they sit down, they have coffee, they sit down, they go to the next room. There's a horse escort when Trump goes from one meeting to the next. World leaders, Middle Eastern leaders, are waving to him, are fist bumping him, and the difference is monumental compared to when Joe Biden went to the Middle East, met Saudi Arabia, and saw bin Salman, who gave him a fist bump. Remember that? It was barely even noticed he was there, a little fist bump, a completely different president. And that means a lot, especially with the Middle East. With the Middle East is much of a tinderbox as it is, and with the amount of oil that's produced in the Middle East, it really, really matters that Trump and America has a good relationship. I think also something really important happened today. He met with the Syrian president, and he lifted the sanctions on Syria, which is a big move for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of technology that we can sell to Syria, and I'm sure that's going to be part of lifting the sanctions, that we will be the seller of technology into Syria. Great business move. More importantly, Trump literally went to the Syrian president and said, I want you to sit down with Israel. Can you imagine if a Middle Eastern country sits down with Israel to try and make peace? They will alienate Iran even further. Iran will be an island on themselves and won't know what to do. They'll be surrounded by pro-American forces. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Syria, Israel, Jordan. Iran's going to be left out in the cold. This is really, really smart diplomacy. All right, let's bring in our first guest. He wants to level the playing field for American Wagyu beef farmers. Representative Marlin Stutzman's new bill, it's called Protect the American Beef Act, opens the door for the President of the United States to place a tariff of up to 70% on Wagyu meat and conventional embryos imported from Australia in order to create a competitive balance in the two trade markets. Let's welcome Congressman Marlin Stutzman. Welcome, Congressman. Tell us about your bill, and I give you a fair warning, my friend. I'm a free trade person. I'm an absolute free trade purist. So, I hate it. As I told my producers, like, yeah, he wants to talk about tariffs, and I said, well, I hope he realizes I'm a free trade person who's pushed back on even the president's tariff plan. So, let me hear it. Let's hear it.
Well, Eric, great to be with you, and appreciate you hearing me out here, because I'm with you. The fact is that Australia banned American beef from going to Australia back in the early 2000s during the mad cow disease. There was a period of time in the early 2000s when we were dealing with that. We've obviously dealt with it. We feed, over 300 million people in the United States, but Australia took advantage of the situation and said, we're not going to take any beef from the United States. But of course, they send plenty of beef to us, and we buy a lot of Australian beef. When President Trump started talking about tariffs, I really see this as an opportunity to reset our trade policy. I mean, I remember, growing up in the Midwest during the 90s and early 2000s when the free trade agreement, NAFTA, was supposed to be great for America. Well, I'll tell you, Eric, it wasn't great for the Midwest because a lot of these jobs did go overseas. A lot of them went to China. A lot of them went to Mexico for a variety of reasons. And so there has been a disadvantage on manufacturing and agriculture, specifically from what I'm familiar with other countries, and a lot of them are our allies. Look at the auto industry. We helped build the Japanese auto industry because of an imbalance or a difference in our trade policy. So my hope is that President Trump sends a message to these countries and says, look, we're going to level the playing field. If you want to go to zero tariffs, we're fine with that. I would support that, that there shouldn't be any tariffs going either direction, and that would be real free trade. And so that's what my intention is. And we definitely have the attention of the Australians and saying, look, we're friends. You should be buying American beef.
I agree with you on the part, but in theory, my problem is that when you do things like tariffs, and you're I guess recommending a 70% tariff on Wagyu beef. Wagyu beef imported from, right now, Australian Wagyu beef is around $40 to $45 a pound, right? Whereas American grown chuck is about five and a quarter a pound. So it's already 9 times more expensive. So if you're going to almost double it, you're going to cause a pound of Wagyu beef to come in around $70 a pound. That's a $30 quarter pounder.
Well, I mean, I'm in the industry. My family's in the industry, and I know that if you're buying $5 a pound Wagyu chuck, it's not good Wagyu.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that. I said American beef, regular beef, straight up beef, 5 and a quarter. I'm saying
yes.
Wagyu beef imported from Australia right now is about $45 a pound. You put 70% on that. That's what is it? That's about $70 a pound.
Right.
Your Wagyu burger that you sell in America that's Australian right now, until tariffs come down, you're almost doubling the price. And here's the theory, and this is why I warned you, I'm a free marketeer. There is no way, absolutely no way, a guy who's selling Wagyu burgers or burgers in a restaurant can eat the difference of a 70% increase in his input costs on Wagyu beef. He has to pass it on to the burger buyer.
Right. So again, I mean, I'm in the industry. I know the industry. I was, we've been quoting to restaurants. This was about 4 years ago, before I was elected to Congress, and we couldn't compete with our product with the Australian product, and we would. Here we were, 50 miles down the road. We had transportation advantages. We of course had regulatory advantages, but we couldn't beat the Australian price. And what's happening is that again, we're building the Australian beef industry on the backs of the American farmer and producer. We have an unlevel playing field, and that's simply what the tariff price. 70% is a strong. I mean, it's a high number for a reason. That's not what the final intention is. It's really to get the attention of the Australians and say, look, stop banning American beef from going to Australia. Let's have a level playing field going both directions. And we're not afraid of competition. We'll compete with anybody. But if somebody's going to ban our product or tariff our product, then you're putting Americans at a disadvantage. And that's why I think President Trump is right to put these tariffs in place to bring these people to the negotiating table to get a better trade deal.
So, and again, if that's the theory and that's what we're doing, then great. But it became, let's raise tariffs on everyone and see who comes to kind of like kiss the ring and get their tariffs lowered, versus let's just get everyone to lower their tariffs. In fact, the market got destroyed when Trump announced tariffs on everyone. It lost $10 trillion. It didn't recover until he started lifting tariffs. So tariffs clearly are not great for trade, for free trade. Clearly are not. When you lift them, they are. So my question is, why even I guess it's twofold. If Trump is going to play the tariff game with Australia anyway, why do you want to specifically point out yet another tariff to add to the game he's already playing?
Because this is so Wagyu in particular, that's a niche market that came out of Japan during the free trade negotiations back under the Clinton administration. Wagyu was only exclusive in Japan. Well, they let genetics out of the country back in the 90s. Well, then, of course, it starts to develop around the country. Well, there's a lot of people that are cutting corners on the product. The Wagyu breed, the brand is a solid brand. People know it as a quality, high-end beef product, but a lot of people are cutting corners. That's one of our issues with the Australians, is that we don't even know what percentage of the product is really Wagyu. It could be Hereford, it could be Angus, it could be any other breed, but they're labeling it as Wagyu. Well, for example, Arby's did their Wagyu steak burger for a while. They don't do that any longer because there was a challenge to them that is the beef really what you're saying it is? And it wasn't. Australians have been cutting corners on that, and they've been charging a higher price in order to get into the U.S. market because they knew the U.S. market is the most profitable for them. So there's a back channel.
Congressman, dumb question. So if the Wagyu, which was originally in Japan, and I guess it has something to do with the amount of fat in the beef and the way that the cattle are treated while they're harvested before they're slaughtered, to keep the fat and keep them more fat and less lean. America didn't get any of the Wagyu cattle that you say left Japan and went to Australia. We didn't get any here, and can't we just buy some of them and breed them here?
We did. No, we did, but they stopped actually exporting any of the genetics. So there was a limited amount of genetics that went to Australia, a limited amount that went to the United States. There's also a difference between the Kobe beef, which is the way that the beef is actually raised with beer baths and classical music and massages. That's Kobe. So it has to come from the Kobe region in Japan for it to be literally branded, labeled Kobe, just similar to Champagne has to come from Champagne, France. But it's the breed of Wagyu that is generally the Kobe breed that they use to produce the Kobe beef. Wagyu is the breed that the genetics were exported for a period of time from Japan, and Japan has been very frustrated with the way that United States, Australia, and other producers have really watered down the product, and the integrity of the product is not what it was or is in Japan. And so there's this there's a race to make money, and cutting corners is an easy way to do that, and that's what we're really trying to say to to the Australians is stop banning American beef, but also stop branding and labeling a product that's not really true to what it actually is.
Sure. Well, we wish you luck with your bill, and again, no offense, sir. I'm glad you came on. And,
oh no.
A lot of American people agree with you, raise tariffs, but they're doing it until they realize if these tariffs stay in place for a period of time, I don't know, a quarter, a month, a year, 5 years, prices are going to substantially go up.
Well, absolutely.
We just need to understand. Yes, if other countries play ball with Trump, everything's great. But I'm a free trade guy where I'm not sure they are going to. I'm not sure they're going to be honest either. So, final thought?
Yeah, well, no, and you were talking about Syria just a little bit ago, and I actually visited Syria over the Easter holiday, and seeing the same sort of negotiations that Trump is doing in the Middle East. I think there's real opportunity in Syria, and it's a trust but verify situation with the new president. But you have to. Trump is the strongest negotiator, the strongest diplomat the United States has had since Ronald Reagan, in my opinion. And so, my hope again is that you have to start making some strong moves and taking, a chance on somebody that, maybe they're going to be the right president for Syria in the long run. We don't know.
I agree. I agree with you. I think Trump blows. I'm a Reagan guy. I adored Reagan. I think Trump blows Reagan away in his ability to negotiate. It's incredible. Yeah. What we're seeing in the Middle East, some very, very powerful world leaders are just literally bowing to President Trump. We saw Obama bow to the sheiks. The sheiks are bowing to Trump, and that tells you a heck of a lot. Congressman, really good having you on. Thank you. Marlon Stutzman, appreciate your time.
Eric.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
All right, folks, before we head to break, I want to remind you about my podcast and YouTube page, which are both updated daily. You can hear the show, tons of other content. By the way, I have something up right now We're going in deep into the P. Diddy trial. The Diddy trial going on right now. We're going to take you through it, what's going on. It's some salacious stuff, but you can get that only on the Bolling. You got to subscribe. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Rumble, etc. Subscribe. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay, Ben, get on this. Sedona, Arizona is one of the most beautiful places you'll ever go to. You need a minute to just recharge a battery, step away from everything. Go to Sedona, turn off your phone for, 48 hours and just enjoy the scenery. That place is just... There's a place called Enchantment there because it is enchanting. It's incredible. What a healing place. Okay, folks, looks like Chucky is at the find out portion of F around and find out story. Watch.
Did you really not have any idea that he was not fit to serve a second term?
Casey, we're looking forward. We have the largest Medicaid cut in front of us. We have the whole federal government
You're facing all of this
risk.
because you lost a presidential election. And is that not Joe Biden's responsibility for deciding to run again?
We're looking forward.
I bet you, Chuck, looking forward to the place they send cover-up artists like you, the ones who are willing to put a whole country's future at risk just to hold on to power. Well, this is something to see. The Democrats have failed in every which way, so they decided to try one last thing, full-blown cannibalism. When I talk about political cannibalism, obviously, they're eating their own. Or is this a trap? All right, so it's no surprise. They're sweeping David Hogg under the political rug, so to speak. He came in violent, came in hot, and the mood to clean house among the Democrats, but had no one behind him or even next to him for that matter. So after propping him up as the future of the party, vice chair of the DNC, they decided he's too white, too, XY chromosome, and that just won't do it in the party of woke, except it's not just that. He was too mouthy about bringing change to a party that's too much in denial. They still think they got it right. Denial of their collective heads up their own butts to think about actually changing and winning something. It's fine with us, though. David Hogg was calling them all out, and not in a cool MAGA way either, but in the I don't earn this, and I didn't earn this, and I don't have any clue sort of the way that pisses off leftist oligarchs and deep state henchmen. So Hillary said, hell no, add him to the body count, so to speak. And then, of course, we talked about this yesterday, the Fetterman takedown, the coordinated, multi-pronged attack on Senator John's sweatshirt and basketball shorts. That occasional moderate and lover of Israel has pissed off one too many squad members, and now the top blue brass want him out. Suddenly, his mental health is a concern to the Democrats. So out comes the lace gloves because, let's face it, these snowflakes couldn't handle boxing gloves, especially with Fetterman. Have you seen Mayor Pete, Cory Booker, Chuck Schumer? Well, I digress. So got to get Fetterman out of there because sometimes he makes just a little too much sense for the comfort of these socialists with the moderate agenda and hating terrorists. He making so much sense. He sounds like he's MAGA. Well, the Democrats, they're just trying to figure this out. It's got their mind blown. But ain't no way in the House that Jasmine Crockett built. So what's left? Well, as expected, after years of lies that frankly made Democrats look pathetic, it's time. It's time to run for cover from the Biden dementia cover-up. And this is a sight to see. Let me tell you, watch this. Maybe those checks never cleared to the leftist media in time before Elon Musk scraped away their funding, but this is something to behold. It's like cockroaches scurrying when the lights are turned on. There's a fire lit under the collective behinds, asses of the leftist media that knew that the big guy was being held together with masking tape and glue. And that was, by the way, he was hanging on by a thread. Those threads being held by Barack Obama and his loving elder abuser wife, Jill. Could you ever have imagined that Jake Tapper, one of the foremost commie weasels at CNN, a willing player in one of the biggest political cover-ups of all time, would be an author of a book actually detailing that said cover-up? You could sense that was coming, couldn't you? The White House Correspondents' Dinner weeks ago, the Biden defense tour to get out in front of it, put him out on The View. Former Obama and Biden aides spilling the tea. George Clooney turning on him, and it's on. Chuck Todd finally turns on his fellow Chucky.
He is among the people that are responsible for this. The leaders of the Democratic Party, the staff of the White House, and I have to say, I find everybody now talking to these authors, get out of here. Go home. You're part of the problem. Now you tell us.
Now you tell us, he says. Chuck, do you have eyes? Do you have ears? I'm sorry, but we're not actually accepting this lying crap nonsense, are we? They, the mainstream media right there, including Chuck Todd, who sat at the helm of Meet the Press for a decade, is going to sit there and blame Chuck Schumer for something that was plain to see and hear if he had functioning eyes and ears. Oh, and then the guy who is one of the leading faces of the unpopular and untrusted media wants to talk about an untrusted party.
You know, the reason why the Democratic Party has less credibility today, here's an unpopular president, and the Democratic Party has a worse rating than the Republican Party with this catastrophic governance that we've seen over the last 120 days. And yet, why is the Democratic Party in worse shape? Because of this distrust.
Well, Chucky Todd, that's one of the many reasons that Democrats are failing, including lying about how the GOP are, what was that word? Catastrophic? Yeah, still zero trust in you or in the mainstream media. And then another happy peddler of lies, Jake Tapper, who now wants to cash out on pretending he had no clue, even after watching old Joe again and again.
Let me start off with two words. Made in America. Made in America. We are all created equal, endowed by in the image of God, endowed by our Creator to be able to treat it equally throughout our lives. Find answers to the drug problem, to drugs. With the use of drugs for health problems. When I went to Dearborn, driving that, was up there. I don't know, man. I think the press thought I was crazy. We saw new standards. We set new standards. We slashed methane and brought over 100 nations
Let's
together.
come out. I've had enough of that. Plain to see and hear right from the very beginning. But now Jakey Tapper wants to make some money peddling a book off his anger at being lied to. What? By the White House staff when he was doing plenty of lying himself. I think isn't this you?
Is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
You have
to
no
watch somebody on stage search for
It's so amazing.
questions
It's so amazing to me
and try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive
Well,
decline.
when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline.
Oh, but now Jake Tapper is super duper angry. By the way, he's trying to sell a book.
The bottom line is the White House was lying, not only to the press, not only to the public, but they were lying to members of their own cabinet. They were lying to White House staffers. They were lying to Democratic members of Congress, to donors about how bad things had gotten. And in fact, Alex and I started writing this book after the election of 2024, and we spoke with more than 200 people, most of whom, almost all of whom, were Democrats. And almost all of whom wouldn't be honest with us or wouldn't be candid with us until after the election.
So, you know what that's called, Jake? That's called election interference, and you know it all too well. Why not try real journalism for just once, just 1 minute? Ask the leading Democrats why, if they knew he was a degenerate wreck, why would they let him do this?
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
So you may have not have noticed this, but we do TV all the time. That thing was stitched together. He could barely get a line together, and then they'd cut and redo another line. It was like Frankenstein, that soundbite right there. There's a wheelchair consideration. There was a wheelchair consideration. They were looking into wheelchairs in case there was a second presidency. Can you imagine? And now they're finally admitting he couldn't recognize people he knew very well. And now they're mad. Oh, they're mad and they're shifting their tune. I'm telling you, get the popcorn out, all your favorite snacks. This is the entertainment you didn't know you needed. The left is turning in on themselves. And while President Trump dances to village people in Saudi Arabia with something like the 10th win in a week under his belt, the Democrats are ripping apart at the seams. I gotta tell you, folks, this is one happy day. 2.5 minutes, we'll be right back. I'm going to guess Hawaii somewhere. Oh, Yosemite. I didn't see in the lower right-hand in the corner there. Yosemite. Beautiful. I had no idea they had that type of waterfall. Gorgeous, Ben. Good call. Good call. All right, let's go to the White House and our RAV chief White House correspondent, Brian Glenn, who you spent some time in one of the Homeland Security hearings. Tell us about it, Brian. What was on the menu today? Kristi Noem was there? Yeah, Secretary Noem?
Yeah, Secretary Noem was there, and of course all the shenanigans from the Democrats were there, really going down that rabbit hole of deportations and due process for these illegal aliens. And Congressman Goldman, Democrat, kind of got tangled up a couple times with Chairman Green and Marjorie Taylor Greene as well. This is, Eric, I'm still just baffled that the Democrat Party still thinks that defending MS-13 gang members from being deported from this country is something they really want to, that's the hill they want to die on. And I can't make any sense of it. But hey, if they continue that, Eric, where I think the midterms, it's looking
Maryland,
pretty good
man,
in terms
Brian,
of law and order in this country.
Maryland, man, is more important than
Maryland,
the safety and security of our women and children and, frankly, our businesses and just about everyone in our neighborhood. So bring back the MS-13 gang banger who beats the crap out of his wife. Maryland, man, right? Van Hollen et al.,
Yeah.
Congressman Goldman.
Yep. And what's interesting is Stephen Miller said this one day in the briefing room, and it was perfect. He said, all you guys in here sit in your ivory towers, you live in these elite gated communities, and yet not one of you, if I offered you $1 million, would want to go live amongst these criminals that you're defending publicly on your airways, which is true. None of them, it's so hypocritical. None of them want these people to live in their neighborhoods, but they think for whatever reason that the public court of opinion is on their side, which is not.
This is
not
so
even,
important.
I
You're
truly
hitting
believe
on something so important. In fact, Politico was another one of the news services, one that leans a little bit right, which I read every single morning, pointed out that the Democrats wanted to leave the border open. Like Joe Biden did nothing on purpose. They were future Democrat voters. They didn't really want to talk about it. They just wanted it to happen. And everyone on the Democrat side and progressives and people who voted progressive were on board until one thing happened. And that one thing was when Governor Abbott decided to he used $12 billion of the state of Texas's money, general fund, and started taking these illegals and putting them in the backyards, in Martha's Vineyard, in wealthy liberal neighborhoods, and then the whole thing changed. Then all of a sudden it became an issue for everybody, and they never saw it. The Democrats never saw it, but they're going to die on this hill, Brian.
Yeah, and also I'll go a step further. A lot of these people in the legacy media have obviously kids. They're married. They have children. So I asked them, do you want these people to live, these child molesters, these child rapists, these really horrible people, do you want them living next door to you? Of course you don't. So I think they need to be truthful with themselves and quit listening to the producer back in the studio in New York that is not married. They don't have kids. They're leftists. They hate Trump. They hate this country. They're writing the stories that they're asking these reporters to ask during these hearings. And, there might come a point when they just walk away and say, I can no longer do this. But I was just very surprised today that Democrats in that committee are still defending deportations of illegal aliens. Don't understand it.
Yeah, it's not a 50-50 issue. I mean, you want to pick something, pick 50-50. They're not going to get the American public behind them when we keep pointing out, and it's not just the Fox News or a RAV segment about the rapes and the murders and the crimes that these people are committing. Regular folks are seeing it in their own. Their schools are too crowded. The resources in their towns are being eaten up by illegals. Schools are being closed down to house illegals. It's insane. And then this nonsense, Brian, the nonsense when Congress people show up at the ICE detention center in New Jersey and say, you know what, we're going to break the law, and then have the gut, AOC has the cojones to say, don't touch them or else. Yeah. Really? Was she there? Was AOC there?
Yeah. No, she was not there, but many of the radical left people were there. It's interesting because there's a protest going on, a gathering. I can't hear what they're saying, but earlier on my way to the White House, the only reason I'm saying this is I want to see if perhaps they are holding up some signs of deporting. It's all against deportations right now. They're big, massive turnout. But, it's interesting that under Speaker McCarthy, if you remember, Ilhan Omar and others were thrown off committees due to some of their stances, their anti-American stances that they were on social media. So, I'm just wondering for Speaker Johnson, should these Democrats that basically stormed the gates of that ICE detention center, should there be some type of punishment for them? I don't think you censor them. I don't think you kick them out of Congress. I'm not asking that. But if they are on committees, I do think we need to show a sign that says, look, it's showing up to an ICE detention facility demanding to get in is not the right thing to do. Assaulting people, police officers, is not the right thing to do. Now, there is a process that if someone in Congress, Eric, wants to tour a facility, because I remember many of Republican congressmen that tried to tour the jail, the D.C. gulag, they were not allowed in many times. The door was locked. They played shenanigans. But if they do want a tour of detention center, they have to go through a process to get that approved. You just can't show up and say I'm in Congress. Let me in. It doesn't work that way.
That mayor,
it's going to be interesting. Yeah,
the mayor who's up for an election. No one really knew him. And he's making a name for himself, but he put hands on an ICE.
You know him now.
he put hands on an officer. He can't do that. And I would just love someone to tell AOC, I don't matter who you are, a mayor or a member of Congress, you can't put hands on a police officer. You can't break the law. You're not above the law. How many times they say Trump's not above the law, yet every single moment they can, they will do things that are above the law, right to the line, sometimes over the line, and above the law, and expect personal treatment. Final thought, Brian. Appreciate your time.
No, absolutely. Let's just hope. Look, for the betterment of this country, let's just hope we can all come together. The border is closed. I'm trying to get Tom home, and he's just over there for a few minutes wrapping up. But he would tell you we have, the detainees, the border crossings are historical lows, absolutely historical lows. So we've closed the border. Let's just hope our Democrat colleagues on the other side of the aisle can agree that this country is safer with the border that it is right now, and let's just stop the political kabuki theater of acting like you're outraged anytime someone is deported from this country. It's not the right thing to do. It's constitutionally not the right thing to do. And
B, we're going to let you go.
Anyway.
Appreciate your time. If you get Homan,
Maryland,
we're going to come back from break and do Homan with you if you can grab him. Otherwise, we're going to do some other stuff.
I'll let you know if he comes over here.
You let us know in the break. All right, folks, before we go to break, I want to remind you, I got a podcast, YouTube page. Right now, we have a bunch of stuff on the Diddy trial that's going on right now. It is salacious. It is crazy. You cannot believe some of the stuff that's going on. We take it all apart, but you got to go subscribe. YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Subscribe. It's free and really some cool stuff over there. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes, and hopefully, maybe we'll see. Maybe Tom Homan. Oh, Ben, that looks beautiful. Casco, Maine. And Ben, the other day when Nashville was not snowing, and
I was hoping we wouldn't bring that back up. Thank you very much.
That lake is not frozen, but it looks really some great fishing in there, I bet. All right, folks. Talk to me, Ben. Do we have Tom Homan? I'm hearing we might have Tom Homan. Let's bring Mr. Tom Homan, the director, the ICE director. Let's call him the border czar. Let's call him probably the most successful border person, Homeland Security, anything ICE related in the history of America. Tom, appreciate your time. Love the fact that you're on Bolling today, and just keep crushing it, my friend. Tell us the latest. Trump talked about 99% decrease in border crossings. It's across the board, though. It's not just the border, right?
No, you're right. Look, I've worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. Trump 45, it's unprecedented success. We handed the Biden administration the most secure border that we ever had, and they purposely unsecured it, which first president in history of the nation to unsecure a border on purpose. But Trump 47, unprecedented. We beat Trump 45. President Trump has created the most secure border in our history as a nation today. So today, when I'm talking to you, we got the most secure border in the history of this nation because of President Trump and his out-of-the-box thinking. He's a game changer. And it's not because of Tom Holman, it's because of men and women that wearing that green uniform, United States Border Patrol, listening to the Commander-in-Chief about how to secure that border. And again, most secure border in the history of this nation. ICE, the interior arrest, ICE, they've arrested 3 times more criminals than Biden has in the same time period. So they're doing great. And we're already finding thousands of those missing children. So President Trump is knocking it out of the park once again. But unprecedented success. I'm proud to just be in the mix.
You know, Tom, the AOC, Ocasio-Cortez, levied a threat to you and to Secretary Noem, and she said regarding the ICE detention center in New Jersey, where the mayor, actually put hands on an officer. She said, "You better not do anything to them. Nothing better happen to them, or else." And she didn't finish "or else." I'm kind of laughing at her nonsense. What do you say to AOC, who levies a threat at Tom Homan and Kristi Noem?
Well, look, I'm extremely intimidated. I mean, what a joke. I mean, bottom line is, I was wearing a green uniform, a Border Patrol agent, on the southern border protecting this nation for 5 years before she was even born. I got more than 34 years enforcing immigration law, national security, before she was a member of Congress. I forgot more about this job than she'll ever know. So we're not breaking the law. What you saw is the mayor break the law. And the Congress people, I know they're being investigated by Lena Haba, the acting U.S. attorney up there. We'll see where that goes. But I saw the videotape. You can't put a hand on a law enforcement officer. Even if you're a member of Congress, you don't have that right, because no one's above the law. So, I was honest from day one from the inauguration. I said, you can push back against ICE all you want. You can support sanctuary cities all you want. But you can't cross the line. You can't cross the line of impediment. That's a felony. You can't cross the line of knowingly harboring, concealing an illegal alien from ICE. That's a felony. And you certainly can't commit criminal trespass.
So the judge,
you can't assault
ICE director,
a federal law enforcement officer. And look, this week alone, let's remember, this week alone is about law enforcement officers. It's Law Enforcement Week. I buried Border Patrol agents in my career. I buried ICE agents. This is a week we're supposed to honor them, not attack them, and not assault them. And for a member of Congress to do that, it's insulting to the American people.
Agreed. And we back you. We back you 1 billion%. Director, the judge that slipped the illegal out the back door, who got arrested, and also the mayor in New Jersey who got arrested for putting hands on an officer, will they go to jail?
Look, I'll be up to the judge, but I support the prosecution. Again, we weren't bluffing day one. You don't cross that line. They cross that line. So a judge can be held accountable. So, we'll see how that all plays out in the courts. But I think what they did there needs to be consequences. We can't allow that stuff to happen. I mean, the American people voted for Donald Trump to secure this nation, to close the border, and to run the biggest deportation operation this country's ever seen. We're not making this stuff up. Everybody we arrest is an illegal alien at a minimum. Most of them are public safety threats and national security threats, so that's what we're prioritizing. No one should disagree with that. It should be a nonpartisan issue. Removing public safety threats and national security threats from this country, everybody should agree to that.
So is there, the border seems to be pretty much closed, locked down. I've spent a lot of time at the border, and now the tunnels. People talk about the tunnels. There's literally thousands of tunnels. Strikes me as the way to fix that problem would be to, bunker bust them and collapse all those tunnels. Do you have any plans to work on the tunnels in the southern border?
Well, of course. I can't share our plans because law enforcement is sensitive, but we're aware of the tunnels. We got great tunnel technology, and not only within DHS and DOD, but there's a lot of smart companies out there got the latest technologies that's helping us identify those tunnels and shut them down. So we're staying ahead of the game. The cartels, they'll change their their method of operation because the border secures. They're going to try to dig under it. They're taking the maritime. We've already increased maritime patrols, so they're not getting away maritime. So they'll change their methods, but we'll be right in front of them getting ready to respond to it.
Very good. We're going to let you go. I want to let the folks know you were kind enough. Your folks called me this morning. We're going to do a ride along with with ICE and Border Protection. So we're gonna bring you a lot of that, and I appreciate you, sir. We all do appreciate you, and thank you for making a few minutes for Rav and the Bolling Show. Thank you, Tom Homan.
You got it. Thank you.
Stay safe, my friends. Stay safe. We need that man very safe. All right, folks, we'll be back 2.5 minutes. Big Sky, Montana. Amazing skiing there. I've never been there. I heard there's amazing skiing. So we're waiting on Steve Bannon. He's there. We're trying to get the audio up. We're working on it. You let me know if we got it, Ben. Mr. Bannon, pinch me. Tell me that I'm not dreaming. Throw water on my face to make sure that I'm actually seeing the one, the only Stephen King Bannon. There he is. Can you hear us?
Tom Homan and Steve Bannon back to back. Not a bad day.
What a day.
Bolling. You're earning your keep.
Mainstream media is so jealous of me right now. Steve, so Congress, we laugh because these clowns, they take 5 months off. They don't work a lot. But take a look. Let's show the first one. Congressman Blake Moore, Republican. Let's show him what happened while they're trying to pass the big, beautiful bill. Up. There he is. You can put a little sound in there, Ben, if you got it. You can play a little sound. You got it? There it comes. There he goes. Wake him up. Okay, Congressman Moore. Okay. So it's not just one side. Let's show the other one. Democrat, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell from Michigan, dead asleep. Steve Bannon, dead asleep in the chair right there. Right there. So I did a little math, my friend. Congress, $174,000 a year each. They work on average 167 days. That's $1,041 a day that they work, plus a ton of benefits. The median American family makes $39,900 or $173 a day, and they work 230 days a year. These clowns are asking for more money, and when they're there, they're sleeping through important votes. Stephen.
Well, I think in a full disclosure, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that was 4 o'clock in the morning. Wasn't that where they worked all night? To get the big beautiful train wreck that's coming our way through. I think it was through committee. They who knows? I can't. The thing's so indecipherable. It makes my brain hurt as I go through this. And we're going to have some guys on today to talk about it. But no, that you're listen. They just announced, I think during your show, Eric, that they're not going to work on Friday. They're going to take their votes and get out of town late afternoon tomorrow. Seriously, they've added another day off.
Isn't this, Steve, they work 167 days a year. That's the amount of day. They're off more than half the year. And then they want the Friday. And how are they going to get Trump's, how many EOs has he signed? How are they going to get these things voted and through? Go to work, you guys. Don't sleep through votes and take Fridays off.
They're not going to put any of these EOs up for codification of law. I don't think. Andy Googles, I think, is trying to put a bill up to say you have to, but I don't think they have any intention of doing it right now. Like the big beautiful bill, the sense of urgency, because you need this done by Memorial Day to turn it over to the Senate to have those guys rejected and then get into a conference, start hammering it out, but. There's no sense of urgency up here at all. None. Zero.
Yeah. $1.2 trillion Trump has signed over in the Middle East. Steve, it is amazing to see the difference between the welcome Trump has received in the Middle East. And I'm sure you're going to talk about this, but opening up Syria is a pretty darn big thing. And I think it's a great thing because we can sell them a ton of technology to start rebuilding the Middle East.
Look, we have to look at this realistically. I mean, the guy he's shaking hands with is a hardcore, uber terrorist. That's how he's able to take control of Syria. That being said, President Trump there's more changes that have happened just in the last couple of days than has happened in the reorganization of the Middle East than since Lawrence of Arabia and the Saudis took Damascus in 1917. The Sykes-Picot Agreement's the last big reorganization you had, and President Trump's doing more. It's historic. It's quite fraught with danger. but it gets us out of the invade and hold for 20 years and lose 10,000 guys and $3 trillion. What he's doing is quite bold, leading with economics.
What else?
This is what I voted for.
What else did he do? And you get Syria on board, then you'll have, here's Iran. Here's what's surrounding Iran. Saudi Arabia, Turkey. You'll have the Middle East. You'll have Israel. You have Jordan. You're basically isolating Iran. If you get all these people to start working together with the United States, I mean, you are really putting Iran in harm's way with a bunch of arrows pointing at them. They got nowhere to go.
The biggest line yesterday in the speech, that speech was historic. Of course, the mainstream media is barely talking about it. He gives this historic speech 2 days ago, and the power of the speech, or yesterday, the power of the speech, the most important line where he says, he wants countries to develop by their cultures and their societies. We're not going to get involved in that, in democracy, forcing democracy on people. But then he says, under no circumstances will we allow the Persians basically to get a nuclear weapon. That got thunderous applause, and he's not speaking in the Knesset. That's among the most senior Arab leaders in the world.
Yeah.
They're 100% with us on this. Now, no one wants military intervention, but President Trump's laid it down and actually talked about in the speech what the war room does. Let's cut the oil off. 90% of their cash flow comes from selling the Chinese Communist Party 2 million barrels a day. You got 2 carrier battle groups in the Red Sea, move one over to the Straits of Hormuz and say, hey, guys, you got to turn the ships around. You're not going to China. And let's see what they look like in 100 days after that.
Yep, that's China's Achilles, the oil, the energy. Steve, we took a couple minutes of your time. Appreciate your time. Good to get you back in our E-block. Tomorrow we have a little bit more time. Hey, if you're here Friday, we got a game to play with you. You're going to like it.
By the way, you're the best. You're the best open in A-block I got. So I mean, come on. I'm using you. Don't have your agent call me, okay?
I don't have an agent.
We're using this as a freebie.
Sig is my agent. I think he might be yours though. Have a great show, Steve.
Sig. Love you, Eric. Thank you for doing it.
Brother.